The Shark Deck.
Hello and welcome to Palace Intrigue. I am your host, Mark Francis. The Telegraph reports that Harry even visited Buckingham Palace during his time in London last weekend, slipping in and out of the monarchy's headquarters briefly without seeing the royal family. Vanity Fair adds, there was no meeting with his father and he didn't exchange a single word with his brother Prince William during the fleeting trip. The royals are said to be wondering why Harry bothered to come at all. A royal source said, one makes one's choices. To be honest, there wasn't much talk of Harry at all. The focus was very much on the occasion. Beatrice and Eugenie are the only ones who really speak to Harry. He's actually very close to Eugenie and Jack, but there's very little, if any, contact with the rest of his family, who are still reeling from what he has said and done. Another source spoke of Harry alone, waiting for his car to pick him up. All the other royals and VIPs were taken off in official cars, but Harry was left on his own waiting for his car. It was actually really sad to see him all by himself. Author Christopher Anderson told Fox News, before Megxit, Harry was always front and centre, adding his own spark of youthful exuberance and personal charisma to the otherwise mostly drab royal tableau. The people loved their mischievous rebel prince, and Charles never turned his back on Harry, no matter what kind of trouble he got himself into. Harry would have shown up on the palace balcony had he been asked, but the powers that be that really run the monarchy have convinced Charles to enforce Queen Elizabeth's rule that non-working royals do not deserve such special treatment. Imagine how much more of an impact there would have been with Harry up there, waving to the multitudes alongside his father the King and his brother the Prince of Wales. Unfortunately, those who know Charles have described him as weak when it comes to bucking the palace bureaucracy, even though he is the boss. So the standoff between the Sussexes and the rest of the royals continues, even though the King could unilaterally end it in a New York minute. The Daily Mail reported Charles made a toast to Archie for Archie's birthday. Anderson explained, Charles knew he couldn't in all conscience praise William's children and ignore Harry's, and it was Archie's birthday after all. The Sussexes' absence on the Buckingham Palace balcony on Coronation Day had to have been weighing on Charles' mind. How could it not? Charles is a doting grandpa, and I have no doubt that apart from all the acrimony it pains him to be separated from 2 of his 5 grandchildren. British royals expert Hilary Fordwich commented, King Charles is not sarcastic. King Charles is a loving, genuine man. Ask Lionel Richie, because Lionel Richie and him have developed a close friendship, and Lionel Richie has said that he only has goodness in his heart. The King has such a huge heart, it's not surprising that all he has been so forgiving. There are members of the extended royal family that I know well, on the one hand surprised and yet impressed that the King would extend the kind olive branch to invite Harry to Buckingham Palace afterwards. And indeed, Windsor Castle, because they went to Windsor Castle, I know, afterwards for lunch. I just think it's such a huge shame that he has squandered another opportunity that was provided to him to heal wounds. And I find that sad, and it was Archie's birthday, but millions of children across the globe have their birthday on a separate day when their parents are working or some business or special event, she added. And a 4-year-old could have had his birthday party one day later, and Harry could have made his father happier. The royal suitor shared the coronation viewing numbers. 10.9 million Americans watched the coronation across multiple channels, slightly less than the 11.4 million viewers for the Queen's funeral last year, and significantly fewer than for the Oprah interview, 17.1 million, and Harry and Meghan's wedding, 29.2 million. Palace Intrigue, we'll be right back.
We made USAA Insurance to help you save. Take advantage of discounts when you cover your home and your ride. Discover how we're helping members save at USAA.com/bundle. USAA. Restrictions apply.
I'm Nina Hobson, ex-police detective from the UK. I've worked on every crime mentionable, from murder to kidnap to stalking to fraud. When I left the force, I launched my own investigations firm that soon became a global operation. I'm also a single mother of 2 to 2 members of my team, my son Harrison and daughter Amy. Every week, we'll be getting first-hand accounts from psychological experts, operatives, former criminals, actual victims of the crimes that we investigate, and of course, my very own flesh and blood. From Storic Media, you're listening to Codename Siren, a true crime podcast. Available on YouTube and all major podcast platforms.
Harry's ghostwriter J.R. Moringer told this story about the paparazzi getting under his own skin. I phoned an old friend, the same friend whose columns I used to ghostwrite in Colorado. He listened but didn't get it. How could he get it? So I called the only friend who might. It was like telling Taylor Swift about a bad breakup. It was like singing Hallelujah to Leonard Cohen. Harry was all heart. He asked if my family was okay, asked for physical descriptions of the people harassing us, promised to make some calls, see if anything could be done. We both knew nothing could be done, but still, I felt gratitude and some regret. I'd worked hard to understand the ordeals of Harry Windsor, and now I saw that I understood nothing. Empathy is thin gruel compared with the marrow of experience. One morning of what Harry had endured since birth made me desperate to take another crack at the pages and spare the talk about the media. Too late, the book was out. The party was in full swing. As we walked into the house, I looked around, nervous, unsure of what state we'd find the author in. Was he too feeling fragile? Was he as keen as I was to organize a global boycott of TK Maxx? He appeared, marching towards us, looking flushed. Uh-oh, I thought before registering that it was a good flush. His smile was wide as he embraced us both. He was overjoyed by many things. The numbers, naturally. Guinness World Records had just certified his memoir as the fastest-selling non-fiction book in the history of the world. But more than that, readers were reading, at last, the actual book, not Murdoch's chunks laced with poison, and their online reviews were overwhelmingly effusive. Many said Harry's candor about family dysfunction, about losing a parent, had given them solace. The guests were summoned into the living room. There were several lovely toasts to Harry. Then the prince stepped forward. I'd never seen him so self-possessed and expansive. He thanked his publishing team, his editor, me. He mentioned my advice to trust the book and said he was glad that he did, because it felt incredible to have the truth out there, to feel his voice caught, free. There were tears in his eyes, mine too. And the coronation guest, accused of being in disguise in an attempt to steal the crown jewels, he has now spoken out. Sir Carl Junkins is a Welsh composer. You may have noticed him with his mid-length grey hair and dark sunglasses as he sat in Westminster Abbey. Sir Carl said, "I was quite surprised that some people thought I was Meghan Markle in disguise. Someone wrote I was there, whoever I was, to steal the crown jewels. I look like this all the time, and in addition to this on my neck, which is what they give you when you get a knighthood, this was around my neck over which my tie came and my jacket. Oh, and my moustache has been referred to in the Times as well, but I've had the moustache since I was 18 years old. It was very trendy then, so that's me. Nothing sinister about it or surprising at all." Which is exactly what someone trying to steal the crown jewels might say. And there you have it. If you'd like to email us, our address is thepalaceintrigue@gmail.com. Please follow us on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, YouTube Music, or your podcast app of choice. I'm Mark Francis. My thanks to John McDermott. This is Palace Intrigue, and good times.